This is a fishing jig. I've actually had it floating around my tackle box for a little while. I received it in one of those tackle grab tackle subscriptions that I get every month, but I'm not really sure what to do with it, so it's just kind of been hanging around along with this one, which I also received. And I've kind of been talking once or twice about how I have these two fishing jigs. So I'm going to be going on a 4-day fishing trip, and one of the things that people have reported being very successful on is the fishing jig. So I thought, well, I guess it's about time to break into the two jigs that I have. And while I was going through some of my late husband's fishing boxes, which were actually shoe boxes, I found that I also apparently now have this and this and these little fellers. And then there's this one and that one. And we have this one, and this one. And then the one that I have in my tackle box subscription. But it doesn't stop there. In that box were also these, and this, and this, this, and this, and this, and this, 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 and that. So apparently I have a few fishing jigs. So this is kind of what I've learned about fishing jigs. So this jig here is what's called a football head, and that's because you can see the shape of the head here is just like a football. And this guy's going to sort of bounce or bump around the bottom, I believe, and that's how you're going to swim him. He's going to fall down, and you might kind of pull him up, and he might sort of fall down. He's got a weed guard here, which is kind of nice. That's going to keep him somewhat weedless. And a nice big hook. And if I can get the skirt down, you can sort of see there's a keeper there for running soft plastics. And you can get these in all kinds of different colors. This guy here's got, you know, some orange, and there's some sparkly on him. He has a little indented area there where the fishing line's going to go, right here. So that's sort of how he is. And you sort of see, I don't know how well you can tell, but it sits upright. So when it's sitting on the ground, the hook sort of is facing up. So whatever you have could potentially, especially if it's floating, like a lot of the Z-Man things will float, you can sort of get a little floating action on that. Now, this is also a football head jig. This is made by a company called Pepper Custom Baits, and it has a longer skirt than we saw on the previous one, but this also has a, I would say a less dense skirt, so it's lighter in feel. Now, I know that there's some controversy back and forth on a lot of the videos and different things I've been researching and watching about whether or not to cut the skirt. So some people will cut it right up to the bottom of the hook, maybe round it out. Some people say leave it just as it is. On these Pepper Custom Baits, I think that with the less dense skirt, it might not be as big of an issue because there's not really much there. It looks like it, but it's just very very thin, and also the individual strands here don't feel as thick either. So when you're putting such a trailer or something on the end of this, look at the keepers on here, by the way. When you're putting a trailer on here, the thing about these skirt is that if you're putting a bigger trailer, you don't want the skirt here to interfere with the action of the trailer. And that's not always going to be the case. It just depends on the trailer that you use. And if it's lighter like this, I'm just not convinced that it's going to really affect the action there. Now, this is a very thick, heavy skirt comparatively, and I think that if this was a little bit longer, perhaps it would make a difference. But maybe that just is personal preference, and maybe enough people will say, or as many people will say that's not the case as will say it is the case. So I'm just going to have to try for myself and see. But as of the moment, I'm just going to leave this skirt as it is. The weed guard here seems to be really far away from this hook, so I'm not really sure what's up with that, but I might actually modify this weed hook a little bit. I might actually cut it at an angle a little bit right across the top, and then perhaps spread it out just to make it a little easier for the hook set there. The other kind of heads that I've been noticing here are like this. This is not a football head, and this one is made to kind of cut through the vegetation, I think, a lot easier. So there is no weed guard on this one. So I don't know if I'd want to use this one in any heavy vegetation, but the head appears to be like the kind that you would use for that. Now this one has that sort of a head, which would, you know, go through the vegetation, and it also has a weed guard. So, all right. I'm going to talk a little bit about some trailers. Oh, before I do that, I wanted to show this little guy. I'm not sure exactly what you'd catch on something this small, but I did find this in the box as well. So tiny. There were two of them. There's also one in like a sexy shad color. But anyway, moving on. It's on these swim jigs here, or these football jigs. And I have like things like this, like little grubs and things, and I thought I could use some of these. These ones are in pearl, but I also have them in other colors. And then I have these things that are called chunks. These are just about 3 inches. And they're just little craws. I'll get one out for you. And they're not very big, so I'd probably use this on a smaller jig, or if I wanted a really compact, smaller presentation of some kind. And I might even nose hook them because they're so small. And then these little craw legs here would just be flapping around. So I have these as an option. But like I said, they're kind of small. I also have things like the beavers here. And I have 2 different ones. These ones are just the Sportsman's Warehouse ones. And these are going to be the 4-inch. And these are in real interesting color. They're kind of brown on one side, green on the other, which I thought was really kind of cool. And then these are kind of big. These are the 4-inch. So if I was using something with a really large hook here, I could put that right on there. Excuse me one moment. No, thank you, sir. And then they could sort of, obviously I wouldn't use it with this color, but this is just to show you the hook. So I could use it with a larger hook. I don't know if I'd really want to nose hook something this big. Or I could actually even cut this in half maybe and use it with a smaller trailer there. So I have these things that I can use. And then I also have these. I found these by Big Baits, or Big Bite Baits. And these are actually a favorite of mine, this particular brand. I just discovered them a little while ago, but I'm really liking them. The Big Bite Baits. And these are little beavers. And these are in the baby bass color. And they'd be really good on something smaller, you know, smaller jig hook like that. Or even to just to nose hook them or something if I wanted to make something a little bit bigger out of it. But these will do a good job, I think, anyway. So that's another option that I have. I have some of these Z-Man flippin' craws in, what are these, green pumpkins, so that would probably work. And being that they're Z-Man, they're really durable, so they'll probably get quite a bit of use. And then the other option that I have is to use something like these little paddle foot or boot foot little minnows or whatever they are. So this right here is like a 3.5 inch, and I could probably put this whole little minnow on there. And if I were to do that, obviously again I wouldn't use this color, but I think that would be really kind of cool because they'd look like it was swimming along, swimming as it went, and then when you'd stop it, this entire little area here would flare out, and it really might encourage that aggression bite there from the bass. But I think that'd be pretty cool. You could also use a larger one, and I'm going to show you this here, the Big Bite Baits. I actually got these for Texas rigging, and these are a larger one. These are about a 5 inch. Let me get one of these guys out here. Love the color on here. This is a baby bass as well. Nice thing about these is they've got grooves all in them, all over the place to sort of help you figure out, you know, where you're going to put your hooks. And they've got a nice ribbing on the bottom, so I think it's going to be good, like sound vibration in there. And then the paddle tail, obviously. And with these, I would use these probably on a larger hook, again with the right color. But I just wonder if they're just way too big for that. So if that was the case, I'd either get a smaller one, maybe like a 3.5 inch or so, or I could just cut it. I was wondering if I cut this down then I would still be able to use it and not have to get anything else. But I'm really interested in trying out this with the paddle tail. So basically that's what I'm thinking here. And if you have any suggestions or different ideas or such, please feel free to comment. As I've said, these swim jigs are something kind of new for me, something I haven't really tried before. So this is major experimental thing for me. So wish me luck.